The U.S. on high alert after deadly terror attacks at an American company in France and separate attacks in Tunisia and Kuwait. The FBI and Homeland Security issuing a joint bulletin warning of the heightened possibility of a terror attack here tied to our July 4th holiday. Are our lives, our economy at risk? Hi, everyone. I'm Brenda Butner. This is Bulls and Bears. And here we've got the Bulls and Bears this week. Gary B. Smith, Jonas Max Ferris, John Layfield, along with Gary Kaltbaum and Sasha Burns. Welcome to everybody. Okay, John, we know terrorists are out to kill, but are they aiming at our economy as well?
Yes, they are. You look at specifically what happened in Tunisia on that beach. That was a Western beach. That was a holiday beach. They were specifically targeted that beach because they wanted to disrupt the Western Tunisian economy. Very similar to what they would like to do here. I don't want to be an alarmist and I don't want to cause people to worry excessively, but it is a reason to be vigilant because we have a couple of big things happening next week. We have the Caliphate Declaration anniversary and also July 4th. The two big events that are occurring in just a matter of the next week that is going on. And you look at what happened post 9/11, the $2 to $3 trillion of expense that was caused to our economy, not to mention the thousands of lives lost that day and in the subsequent war on terror following that. It's so much better to prevent this from happening than it is to have to react to it. And I think our FBI and our Homeland Security has actually done an exceptional job of stopping these terror attacks from happening so far.
And Jonas, 9/11 was very much aimed at the seat of capitalism in many ways. It was very near Wall Street, ground zero. In the same way, are these ISIS-inspired attacks? Do you think they're going after symbols? We hear that from sources that they're going after symbols. July 4th, of course, very symbolic. What do you make of that?
I do, because they don't really control weapons of mass destruction or armies. There's just a few people, so they have to hit the economy because you can scare people into changing their behavior. You can't actually kill 1 million people as a few random people with knives and propane tanks. It's just they're not, the ratio of terrorists or wannabe terrorists in America to actual citizens is so astronomically wild that they couldn't do any damage. And as far as changing your behavior, it's literally like buying a lottery ticket and changing your behavior because you might win. It's that absurd to not do something because of the threat of terrorism in America. As far as these other attacks, Africa and places, there's a lot more terrorist wannabes than there are in America. We just don't have that many here, and we shouldn't have to worry as much as you would in other countries as you would here. So I think people need to calm down about the actual risk of terrorism. Let the law enforcement and FBI do their business about it.
But, they take aim at our confidence. And once people want to stay inside, and these random attacks make you want to cocoon more because you have no idea. Is it going to be at a big place like the World Trade Center? Or is it going to be on Main Street in Des Moines? You just don't know. Gary Kay, what do you think that means in terms of our economy? You come from Orlando, the tourist capital of the United States. What do you think would happen there?
Look, we are a resilient bunch, and unless it's some sort of a 9/11 attack, which is, as John eloquently said, really had a major effect, and unless there is a slew of attacks in areas like the malls or the movie theaters that really affect people and how they feel about what they do on a daily basis, I think everything's going to be A-OK. If something does occur, just remember, we will get them, and then we will move on, and then we'll go back to business again. I don't think the economy takes a hit at all.
Sasha, what's your take?
Well, the whole point of terrorism is instead of having militaries fighting each other, it's to make everyone feel that it could happen anywhere, anytime. But I agree with Gary Kay. It's you don't allow it to happen. You don't let terrorists affect how you live your life, and you go to your 4th of July. I can't tell you, I do always sigh a breath of relief on September 12th that, there's a little bit hanging over you. Hope to God nothing happens, but, we just go on with our lives.
Gary B.?
I'm surprised we have such Pollyannas on the panel other than John. They're all like whistling while you work. I want to go back to some of the economic consequences. For only $500,000, Al-Qaeda caused, as John pointed out, $3.3 trillion hit to the economy. Now you're saying, all right, well, ISIS is not going to hijack planes and go through all that stuff. Well, look at, in 2002, I was living here in D.C. We had the D.C. snipers, 2 idiots driving around in a car pretty much shut down the city and the suburbs for about 2.5, 3 weeks. I know it because my kids were in high school then. We canceled high school sports that were outside. I'm sure a lot of other company picnics, really anything that you had to go do outside was shut down. So we can all say, oh, we'll recover, we'll move on. I get that. But we didn't in D.C. for about 2.5 weeks. If it was something bigger, it'd be even worse.
Gary, but when all is said and done, we get past things. We go back to business. And I understand that something bad can happen. I understand that they are out there and they are a determined bunch to come at us and kill our confidence. But I'm just saying our economy is much bigger than them. And when we get back to business, it's over and done with.
But Gary, I hate to say it, but that's obvious. We got past World War II for crying out loud, and Germany and Japan are our allies now. Look, I get that, but what we're talking about is, will it have a significant hit on the economy? I think the answer is unequivocally yes.
And John, to Gary's point about that, it's the very random act of these would-be jihadis, basically, who are staying here. They're not now going overseas. It's something that they're staying here. It could happen anywhere. It's not just New York, L.A., the big cities. That could have an important impact, again, on confidence and on that whole cocooning.
Yeah, and that's very hard to stop, almost impossible when you talk about a lone wolf that is going out there that doesn't care about his own life or her life, blowing themselves up and trying to cause terror by doing so. That is almost impossible to stop. But when you look at what Gary B is talking about, you're talking about, say, polio was supposed to be $1 trillion disease, and we virtually eradicated it through prevention. If we can prevent these terror attacks to the best part, we can't prevent them all. Think about if we'd prevented 9/11. We're spending billions of dollars right now over in the Middle East fighting ISIS because we are trying to develop some type of plan. We have to develop that plan in the Middle East to knock this terrorism out, not because we're trying to build a nation over there. I don't care about building Iraq or Afghanistan. I've been there 8 different times. I don't think there's a chance over there of what's going on. We do it to protect Americans, and that is what's most important. We got to figure out a way to stop this terror from ever happening.
You know, Jonas, John talks about prevention. We are learning, some of sources are telling Fox News, that the time between expressing solidarity with ISIS, which is protected, of course, by the First Amendment, and actually doing something is shortening. So it's more difficult to prevent these attacks.
And I don't think you can prevent all attacks, which is why we have to focus on not overreacting. To Gary's, correct in the sense that that's the problem, is people are going to overreact, like with the D.C. sniper. And that's the irrational part we need to address, because that's part of the cure of taking away the power from the terrorists. You can't, if we behave like that about everything, you would never get in a car when it's going to snow, because your chance of dying is so much higher than sunbathing in Times Square or getting a terrorist attack. So we have to put this in perspective, that you're not going to get killed by terrorists, and you don't need to change your behavior to protect the economy from what Gary B was talking about, which is what would happen, not actual numbers of death.
Okay, Gary B, I want to give you the last word, 20 seconds.
I love what Jonas is saying. It's not going to happen. It's like people that said when the stock market's at a high, oh, the next dip I'm going to buy, and then it keeps dropping and dropping, and they're buying, they're losing money, and then they throw up their hands right at the bottom. It's just very tough to change human behavior.
Okay, that's got to be the last word. Thanks, guys.